And with the government's aim of moving manufacturing GDP from 16 to 25%, of course, we have been talking about some extended deadlines. Now, it was supposed to be in 2025 earlier. Now they are talking about 2030 or so on. But nevertheless, there is a lot more focus on manufacturing at this point in time. The end user segments are experiencing significant growth, but at the same time, there are things which are also happening, which is rise in EV adoption, and there are some other important trends that I want to talk about in this slide. If you see end user segment like glass industry, soaps and detergents, paper industry, which consume a lot of alkali chemicals, is showing a growth. Specialty chemicals, especially when it goes to personal care and cosmetics, automotives and pharmaceuticals. Automotives, especially for those powder coating technology and so on, where there are a lot of dyes and pigments that are being used. So that's also showing growth. Similarly, pesticide, because the country is also focusing on more productive agriculture at this point in time. So these are all the trends that are actually driving more consumption within the country. And if you see, EV is 30%, automotive is growing at 9%, pharmaceutical at 11%, glass 7.5%, textile 14.8%, and so on. I mean, the numbers are in large double digits or sometimes less than 20, but then there are just one or two areas which are showing less than 5% growth. So there's immense potential in the country. There's advancements in the chemical industry at this point, and that's also happening, which is something like bio-based specialty products. There's also specialty polymer segments. As we speak, some of my clients in the aerospace and defense sector are actually looking for some specialty polymers so that they can have better performance of their, including personal protective equipments and so on. So there's a lot that's happening out there where people are focusing more and more on material sciences as well. And of course, there are lithium reserves that have been found out. Time only will tell how much of reserves we have, but then there are quite a number of progress that's happening that side. But what's happening amidst all of this is that our production is lagging consumption. That's the point. So there is enough and more to invest in the country at this point in time, because the production is almost lagging by around 30% compared to consumption what's there in the country. So that's the case, and there is also a cost for import substitution, because you can indigenize more. China plus one is definitely one, and we all know about the supply chain disruptions that happened during COVID, and it continues to happen for different segments. Overall production of 128 million tons, and the capacity utilization at this point in time is shown to be around 79% aggregate chemical capacity utilization. If you see, the RBI governor had also made a statement a couple of months ago very clearly saying that when the capacity reaches a threshold of 75 to 80% is when fresh investments need to start coming in. So it's a high time that we start investing in this space. Apart from that, if you see, I think Mr. Veeramani also spoke about India being...
Great. Sound good? Hi, I'm Carrie Arun. I'm the Principal Commercial Officer at the U.S. Consulate General in Chennai. It's great to be here today at the second annual U.S.-India Trade Connect by the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. There have been a number of great sessions promoting bilateral trade between the United States and India, as well as exhibits from U.S. companies and Indian companies looking to do more business in India. These programs that are hosted by IACC and other partners around the country are pivotal to us being able to promote bilateral trade and commerce between the two countries.
One more.
Hi, I'm Carrie Arun. I'm the Principal Commercial Officer based here in Chennai at the U.S. Consulate General. I'm here today at the IACC second annual U.S.-India Trade Connect program. It's been a great opportunity to learn more about opportunities for U.S. and Indian companies looking to promote trade between our two nations. The program has had a number of great conference exhibits, as well as sessions talking about specific areas that we're looking to promote between our two countries. Special thanks to IACC for hosting this event. Events like these are really important to us being able to increase our bilateral trade and cooperation between the two countries.
Or do some kind of mixing or those kind of things. So you get the quality, consistent quality. So those kind of, even control when I say, there are a lot of on-off applications, there are control applications, there are discrete kind of things where you have to switch it on for a moment, switch it off at another moment. So complete range of solutions it encompasses in a plant application. So everything comes under, when I talk of final control, discrete automation and safety and productivity. This is again very important. When I say safety and productivity, all the hazardous things I need to detect. So there are typical sensors which give you beforehand in terms of what are those Okay. So what are the hazards which are there where I'm operating plant? So all these things, we as an Emerson provides solutions to the global industry. Of course, the market shares and everything you can see. Nowadays, of course, everyone is talking of sustainability. We are no different, let me be honest with you, yes. But we are doing in both the ways. We are doing ourselves, making our plant. So if you are talking of scope 2 or scope 3 kind of things, we can really pitch in there also to help you in terms of reducing your carbon footprints. But when it comes to our own carbon footprints, yes, we are working on that also in terms of reducing. And the entire, when I say, this control systems and software, it encompasses everything, right from the green electricity, the solar, the wind, or the hydro, or the nuclear, whatever you call it, sustainable, yes, everywhere, whether it is LNG. So entire industry from the power production to hydrogen, even if you want the hydrogen production, to the carrier, which we call it green ammonia production, everything, the entire value chain, the solutions, the experts, the SMEs, so that Emerson has got that entire value chain, the entire gamut of activities which we have experts for hydrogen who can really help you with the green hydrogen. There is a complete expertise available on green ammonia if we are really setting up the things. Then when we are talking of green electricity or solar or this, it's very easy to talk of. When the sun goes off, what will you do? So then you have a storage solutions, or you have a hybrid, this kind of thing. So Emerson has recently acquired one company in wind to have a hybrid kind of thing with solar and wind. And wind means it can be onshore, it can be even offshore. Within the sea, you have windmills available, so that the entire electricity supply is available 24/7. So those kind of hybrid solutions, and not from such small grid for one particular plant to national grid. That day Modi ji said one day that, okay, switch off the lights for some time. It's enormous impact on the electricity producing things. How do you control that? Suddenly, millions of people are really switching off the lights. The whole grid will go for a toss, but we didn't experience anything. I will say thanks to Emerson Softwares, they were controlling it. They were working behind to controlling the grids of the whole national grids. So those are the solutions which we are talking of, and everything, I think it relates to our sustainable things, the kind of things which we were doing earlier. I used to see DG sets when I was a kid, DG sets running every nook and corner of a market. Nowadays, those things are disappearing. Many of the states, the electricity, of course, the State Electricity Board has to really take the initiatives, but yeah, the solutions are available these days to really improve those kind of things. Okay, I think I should not spend time on all these things. I think my predecessors have set the pretext for me. The context is there in terms of what all India is and what all it is. But yes, definitely, I will say the Atmanirbhar Bharat, that the China plus one strategy, and truly India is a reliable supplier. There is something cannot be covered here in India like China. So that's why the whole emerging scenario is that India is considered to be a more reliable partner. It's not just China plus one, but it's China plus one with reliability of supply chain. So India is there. And if you talk of Tamil Nadu, the PCPIR things which we talked of, that is something really which is amazing. If you read the PCPIR policy, it very clearly set the agenda in terms of who will do what will state government do, what the central government will do, and how the entire system, the whole ecosystem can be set up, which is more important than one particular. I think my predecessors talked about one pharma decision and the entire world changed. I see PCPR something like that. The first PCPR which came up, that was in Dahej in Gujarat, and we have seen the kind of development that region has seen. Similar is the impact. Tomorrow, Nagapatnam, I see Nagapatnam 10 years down the line, it will be one of the very industrialized place with a lot of money in the local hands, local people's hand. One industry, so Jamnagar, I had seen that refinery, one small setup, and the land prices to agri things and the kind of markets and everything is completely different. The whole thing has come up in front of me. I belong to that area, so I know that region was what it was. It was one of the In the constitution, it is written that it is a backward area and it is the responsibility of president to take care, although it was never taken care of. That is a separate thing. But these are the impact, the catalyst it can have. These government policies, whether it is in terms of the Niti Aayog is working behind the scene, Invest India is working. So all these things are really spurring the growth of the chemical industry in India. When we say per capita consumptions and everything, no, India may be the polymers and everything. We have a second largest manufacturer and exporter of dyes. We can see the entire thing, third largest consumers of polymers globally, but still our per capita consumption is maybe 1/10 of the global. So we are talking of, there can be another 5 PCPR even if you set up. Still we will be importing some of the petrochemicals, as we will see in my next slide. So you can see that on the upper side we have a supply surplus, down below we have a supply deficit. So we can see there is a complete range of chemicals. There is an opportunity, and the opportunity comes from all these initiatives, whether we call it in the form of PCPIRs or whether we call it in terms of circular economy, plastics recycling, everything we are trying to do, but still we will be deficient. And if you talk of 5 PCPRs, I think it will take 20 years to set up. The one Nagapattinam or the one Cuddalore which we are talking of, I think maybe I'm talking for last 6-7 years we are talking on this project. And let me honestly tell you, today only we were there and discussing with the Nagapattinam team in the morning. That is a reality and that is coming. All the approvals are in place. 80% of the land acquisition is over and we are expecting job to start within next 3 months. So that's a fantastic thing happening in Tamil Nadu. I should say that for Tamil Nadu, it's a great thing happening, which can a lot of entrepreneurs I can see. Of course, I'm working, but I can see a lot of entrepreneurs here who are making presentations, and I think it provides a range of opportunities in the chemical downstream. The way we have a refining and then the way we have a petrol, diesel, we look at it only, no. The future refineries are all about chemicals and chemicals. All refineries are being set up to maximize the petrochemicals. Initially when I started my career, we were asked to maximize diesel because our economy was diesel. Nowadays, nobody talks of diesel. Everybody's talking of EVs and whatnot. So what I do with that? And similar moment I remember, there was a time when India was producing naphtha, was being used for fertilizer. Suddenly natural gas came. It was a disruption to the industry. And the whole thing, supply chain moved to that all fertilizer plants were moving to gas-based economy and naphtha was surplus. The world market was feeling a glut. And suddenly the crackers I also worked upon it. So yeah, the crackers came in and the entire range which we were importing, whether you call it PP, HDP, LLDP, and all the further downstream things, the plastics, everything was imported. Now everything is made in India and we see the entire value chain which is down below available. So even refining companies are talking of, you will be amazed. I was talking to them and they were talking of setting up a textile park. Badrak Textile Park is coming up by Indian Oil. It's a downstream. So there is a lot of value addition opportunities available. Maleic anhydride, styrene butadiene rubber, polybutadiene rubber, everything is coming as a downstream below, and everyone is trying to make more and more niche chemicals, as my friend was talking about. So we have a lot of opportunities, and I think Tamil Nadu is also at the forefront of leading the revolution which is happening in India. And I'm a regular speaker at USISPF. I'm talking to AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce in Delhi. So I think India-US collaboration has got really, this is the time when Indian economy is growing. US is really, a lot of data is there, but I think I will restrict myself to here at this stage in the interest of time. But we are seeing a lot of collaboration opportunities, be it circular economy, be it environment sustainability things. Because it's not that if I am polluting the environment, it is going to impact India, it's going to impact the world. So the whole world is collaborating, whether it is Europe, whether it is China even sometimes. Now, slightly they are also opening up in terms of collaborating, at least in the field of, in the sustainable field, because that is where we are neighbors. So we see a lot of opportunities coming up, and great opportunity, a time for India-US collaboration. Thank you very much. I would like to take a pause here, and more so we'll discuss, I think, when Veeraman is up, gives an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. It was chemicals, and chemicals. With the profound knowledge, he was able to indicate what is in store for us, and happy to know about Nagapattinam, the future of Tamil Nadu here for chemicals. Very good, sir. Thank you. And now I would like to request Sai Sethuraman, Head of R&D at Pfizer Chennai. You know that all of us know that Pfizer is the biggest pharmaceutical company of the world. And coming from Pfizer, we are very happy. Sai Sethuraman is here as the head of the R&D here at Chennai. He heads the state sterile injectable drug product R&D site and portfolio management team in Chennai. Sai has over 25 plus years of experience spanning across India and US in diverse roles including project management, manufacturing, engineering and business development across industries, finished dosage, API, biologicals, specialty chemicals and chemicals. He's so very happy to have Mr. Sai Sethuraman here, and I request him to make his presentation.
So much. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, it's a tough slot for us to fill, I think, right after lunch. But I really appreciate the invitation from Mr. Jayasilan, Mr. Dr. Veeramani, and I'm really thrilled and honored to be part of this esteemed panel. Great to listen to you guys speak. I think a lot of information that was shared today took away from some of the things that I was going to talk about. By the way, I don't have any slides, so unfortunately you have to look at me and not the slides. But I'm not sure how nice that is, but in any way you have to look at me. So one of the things that as I was thinking about what am I going to cover as part of R&D and innovation that Mr. Jayasilan asked me to speak about. So today we heard about from Dr. Veeramani, Mr. Sanjay and Mr. Jayasilan how India has evolved over the last so many years to become the pharmacy of the world. And they have established a very strong case. I don't think any of us needed convincing, but if we did, we've been very convinced that the partnership between US and India is stronger than ever, and it is poised for future growth, and there is a great amount of opportunity that lies ahead. What I would like to talk about here is that sort of think about where we were and how did we get here as a pharmacy of the world, and where can we go from here? What kind of opportunities, and I'm not going to talk any numbers. I'm not a numbers guy per se, but also didn't bring any presentation, so I'll bore you if I start quoting numbers. But if I look at, let's talk first a little bit of a background as to where Pfizer sits in this context. I think Mr. Jayasilan, you mentioned, right? Many of the MNCs continue to be with India. And by the way, if you don't know, Pfizer has been in India for about 70 years, from the 50s on up, as doing business, both from the point of view of looking at India and the region as a market, as well as looking at India as a source. And I'll speak both of those just in the next few minutes, just to give you a context. So where are we in India today? Interestingly, Dr. Veeramani, you mentioned Pfizer is the largest. Unfortunately, we're not the largest, but certainly today, after March of 2020, I must say we're probably the best known. You don't need, today I was surprised to see, and I'm proud to say that if I just wear the Pfizer t-shirt, then pretty much people know who I work for and what Pfizer is, and that sort of brand recognition. As a humanity, unfortunately, it was because of COVID. But at the same time, I'm proud to say that as being part of Pfizer, that we were able to bring the vaccine in such a record time, and matching sort of the way India has innovated to deliver the homegrown vaccine for a country as large as we are. So if we look at where we are today as a pharmacy of the world to say, going forward, let's say, can we become the healthcare provider of the world? And that's sort of broaden the spectrum, broaden the definition of what India could be going forward. And how do we do that? And that's some of the themes that we are talking about here is how do we catalyze this growth and how do we make it sustainable? Many opportunities lies, as Mr. Prahlad also highlighted, numerous opportunities, whether you take pharmaceutical or you take chemicals. There's lots of opportunity that is in front of us from India, whether it is a domestic market, because certainly the consumption has been growing up and it will continue to grow up, continue to grow from here, because there's a huge gap that we need to fulfill, specifically in the healthcare segment. And certainly as exports, we are well positioned with our brand as India brand, and what we can produce, the quality and the quantity that we are able to produce to sustain to, as we heard today, 200 countries, US being the largest. Okay, but let's look at the 200 countries, particularly a market like Africa, where if we are taking 45% of the market share, they become as big a stakeholder for us, or we are for them, as US is for us. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Now, where do we go? If I take a look at a little bit on the Pfizer perspective of what is innovation. So being in R&D, I've been with Pfizer in Chennai for the past 12 years, Pfizer and predecessor companies. Just in the last 12 years, what R&D has meant for our business from Chennai as well as from the globe, just in the last 12 years it has changed. Where we started to where we are today within Pfizer has changed tremendously, although most of the team remains the same. So what did we have to do to travel this journey? I think I'll take that as a, you can say, basis, a small kernel, to say maybe that what applies to broader pharmaceutical as a whole. So do we do NCs? People usually ask me this question, does Pfizer do NC development or NB development in India? Short answer, no. We don't. And some of the history behind it, Mr. Jayasilan has very articulately expressed here. Maybe that will change going forward. But as of today, no. And I think most multinational pharma that we speak of in India, probably we say the same. And Sanjay and I were talking at lunch. Perhaps that applies not just to pharma, but pretty much many of the other industries. But that's poised to change. So what does innovation then mean? If Pfizer has set up the largest R&D center in Chennai, in Asia, the largest being in Chennai, and one of the 12 R&D centers in the globe, and specifically for sterile injectables where I reside, this is one of the 2 R&D centers. One is in US, one is here. So what does it mean for Pfizer? What is Pfizer looking for from us in innovation if we're not doing NCEs? I can say a whole lot more than the discovery and development of new chemical entities. And that's what we've been focused on for all these years, and we continue to focus on in order to deliver value for Pfizer. We look at how do we deliver new formulations. India being the pharmacy of the world, and we have proven strength over the last 30, 40 years, how to develop new products, how to develop new treatment regimens for patients, how to develop new ways to deliver a drug to the patient, how to improve outcomes when it comes to efficacy, or reduce harm when it comes to toxic. These are all things that India has a tremendous amount of talent, expertise that we bring to bear for Pfizer. We look at the rest of the value chain, if you will, the discovery and development or identification of a new molecule just being that one tip, albeit an important one, but that doesn't make sure that just identifying that doesn't mean that a patient tomorrow is going to have a new therapy. That journey in of itself is about 7 years long. And there's a whole lot of things have to go right in order for that one drug that potentially has been identified in the lab to come to market and actually benefit a patient. So we look at that entire rest of value chain from developing that drug into a medicine. By the way, we develop that first into process to be able to produce it as an API. Then we formulate that to bring it into an injectable formulation today. But most certainly, I'd say 80% of my team, they have knowledge and experience in developing other dosage forms as well. So certainly that's possible, and we are doing that. We look at how to sustain the product once it is in the market, right? Hasmukh sir and I were talking just before. The life cycle for a pharmaceutical product is quite long. And that is definitely a blessing because it justifies the investment that goes into developing the product. But it also brings with it a great amount of responsibility as a pharma company that you are now going to be treating 3, 4, 5 generations of people with that same product. So you need to make sure that whatever that product is, even if it was invented and brought to market in the 60s or 70s, it meets the regulation and the expectation and the quality of what the market wants, what the community demands today. So we have to make sure that it is continuously sustainable, and believe it or not, a great amount of innovation goes into making sure that that product is as relevant today and as efficacious today and meeting and competing with similar or different products that might be out in the market. We look at sustainability. That sustainability here has a different meaning, but ESG, if you look at it, environmental and other forms of sustainability. Sustainability is a key imperative for Pfizer, as it is for many companies globally, and we made a commitment that we will be net carbon zero by 2040. So what we have to be continually innovating and improving upon what we do and how we do it in order to meet that objective. There's a lot of initiatives that originate here in the Indian R&D as well as the manufacturing sector. India, we have a lot of people, my colleagues work in manufacturing in India. So the type of innovation that we have to bring to bear to contribute towards the sustainability is also something that we as a community in India can offer. One of the things that, lessons that I learned in a very different context, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So necessarily, if you look at our own DNA back in the 60s and 70s, in a constrained economy, in a constrained supply chain, with limited resources and capability, availability of components, every industry in India had to innovate. And I don't think that goes away very easily. And we will continue to do that for pharma and for the other industries. And that's what we have to bring to bear. Finally, the other thing that we have to look at, and how do we compete in the marketplace? Pfizer's story about vaccine, or Serum Institute's story about vaccine, or Bharat Biotech's story of a vaccine, and how fast they can bring it to market has set the standard, if you will, for pharma, and it is no longer acceptable for patients, for doctors, for the community to wait for 7 years and 10 years to bring a new product to market. People don't have the patience for that. And competitively, every company is working on this to say, how can I make that 7 years to 5 years? How can I make that 5 years to 3 years? And by the way, as all the competitors are working on the same thing, what was once a 20 to 30 year assured lifespan for a drug has also shrunk to maybe 10 years or less. Okay, so we have to survive in this new regime, and there's no other way to do but to innovate. And accelerating that product to market, having a presence in India for Pfizer. By the way, in Chennai, we have 1,000 people. Most people don't know the number of folks that Pfizer has in Chennai. In India, we have about 7,000. Okay, slightly less than 10% of the global workforce. So what do the 1,000 people do? We're almost all of us in R&D, except maybe 100 people in the supply chain, making sure the products that are manufactured around the globe reaches the patients and the doctors. Besides that, the rest of us are in R&D, whether it is lab rat like myself, who are in the back, or folks in the regulatory, clinical data analytics, pharmacovigilance, and a lot of other functions that have to come together in order to deliver that new product to market. Product innovation, I spoke a little bit, and a lot of the first speakers are also covered that in the past. How do we bring new products to market? And one of the things that I feel, and Pfizer is really keenly looking into this, is how can we use customer-centric innovation? Innovation, yes, formulations, new ways of making that drug better and better for the patient on one hand, but how are the treatment regimens being changed? How are doctors and nurses seeing the patients differently? And how do patients want to be seen differently? There have been many startups originated here in Chennai that have changed the way data is being analyzed. I think how many of you have Practo on your phone? I don't know. Okay, a few of us do. I certainly do, right? There are other companies that do something similar, right? How is data being analyzed? The patient's data, the data that is coming from the hospitals or what the doctors prescribe, how that data analysis can be used to improve how the patient is treated. So there's nothing to do with the API or formulations that I speak of, that where my life exists today, but certainly that goes to contributing towards better healthcare for us as patients and for patients that pharma companies look at. We look at the digital advantage that we bring now, the digital dividend that we talk about that has come over the last 30 years or so, and the presence in India of so many talented individuals in so many domains. What that has brought to bear is that it allows for development to go around the clock. And some of the things that I remember early in my career talking about, that something that starts in the US can continue in Asia. And that back then, early, probably 10 years into my career, we set up a center in that company. I set up a center in Malaysia. Actually now I see that happening quite a lot and quite seamlessly, only because of digital capability. So we have teams sitting in Chennai that can analyze clinical data for studies that might be happening in US or Europe, of course in India as well. Being able to design even the simplest thing as designing the form that the doctor is going to fill or the patient is going to fill at a clinical station, as well as then gathering that data and processing it real time. When I say real time, I mean every night we are able to see what is happening in the clinic, and that enables us to do agile and adaptive clinical trial design. We do in silico development. Just in the last 3 years, and I talked a little bit about where we were 12 years ago as Pfizer R&D and where are we now. By the way, that required a lot of innovation within the team, just to make sure that we don't perish in the competition as a team, as an R&D center. So we now have a group of people, small group nonetheless, but a very impactful group of people that does digital design. So how can we, with the question that we simply ask, and by the way, Aspen Tech that you spoke about, Sanjay, that's my history from my chemical engineering, chemical days, is one of the originators of such a thing called process modeling, dynamic modeling. Or we have finite element method type of analysis to do structural integrity and structural design, structural studies on products that could be simple as syringes or infusion bags, and how that product will behave in the market without actually going into the lab. And that also accelerates our ability to innovate and make changes to the product without even fabricating, let it be 3D printing, even fabricating in 3D printing, anything that we can lay our hands on. We're able to do that design in digital space and do the modeling. So in essence, looking at where we are today as a pharmacy of the world to say the healthcare provider of the world, if we were to think of it ourselves and then say, can we migrate to that? I think that migration will happen through the knowledge, power of knowledge and the knowledge economy. That is all around us, and it's getting better still. So today, what do we do as Pfizer? That's what we create here, is we create knowledge. we may not be the ones that to identify that one molecule. And by the way, most pharma companies, most big pharma companies are not the ones to identify that first molecule. It's usually done in an academic setting or in a doctor's lab or maybe in a small startup. But we may not be the ones to do that, but then we create the knowledge from every step of the way to take that product all the way to how do we bring it to patients in the end, and how do we do that faster. And in this process, as with every other industry that we have seen around the world, we have to continuously innovate ourselves. We have to change the way we do our own work every day. And we have to be agile in that sense from our mindset. And I think what can we do going forward in order to sustain what we have built so far or what we dream to build is, in order for us to tap into this growth opportunity, it's going to require a lot of investment. And I'm not talking about hard dollar investment into infrastructure. That certainly is required, but it also requires a lot of investment in the intellectual capital. And for R&D, that's one of the things that I personally feel very passionate about, is how do we invest in our teams? How do we invest in the folks that are coming out of college, that whom we are going to recruit and bring into the workforce? And what do we do to make sure that they stay agile? So, because what I hired them for 1 year is certainly not what they're going to be doing 2 years from then. And they themselves are sometimes quite frustrated and surprised that they're not doing what they came for. Every one of us, I'm sure, as we graduated from college, had an idea. My daughter just graduated a few months ago, so I keep telling her the same thing. There is an idea that we have as to what I'm going to be doing with my degree. Okay, and I can assure you that I never dreamt that I'd be doing what I'm doing today. So every step of the way, it is important that we make sure that we build that agility into the people, into our teams, so that they continue to innovate within themselves in how they do work and how they stay relevant and how they stay current, to deliver what the organization needs and what the community needs for us to deliver as it evolves over the coming years. So, in essence, when I look at innovation, I look at innovation in pretty much anything. By the way, I'm not a pharmacy graduate. I was sharing with Mr. Jaisil. I'm actually an engineer. I started my career in manufacturing facilities. When we designed and built those, I used many of the Emerson products that Sanjay markets today. Okay? As we did with other firms, right? From there to moving into different industries and then into development, in essence, what I look at as innovation spans beyond what even within pharma people think of as being innovative, and that is in the core R&D area. And I think all of us have a lot to contribute there. I think all of us have a lot to aspire to, no matter where in the value chain you are, whether it is in pharma or chemicals, in order to tap into the opportunities that lie before us over the coming decades. So thank you so much for your attention. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Well spoken, Sai Sitharaman, and beautiful points have been brought out, particularly with the R&D side, new things, things like, what is the responsibility even towards the old molecule, sustain them, usage of them over decades, how R&D has to work to keep the thing intact over the generation. It's a very beautiful point. And he also said about pharma being a pharmacy of the world, we should strive to become the healthcare provider of the world. And so much is happening apart from the new drug entity. What are the other, so much of scope in R&D and how Pfizer is involved in many of these activities. And really thank you. And you have also given some future points as well. Thank you for this. And friends, now the problem now we have is this, that we started at 1:30. We have overshot our time. The next group panelists and all those people, session people already there. So I think we need to vacate now. So I would only say that now there's no time for individual question and answer session. Discussions are not there. But I think we had 1.5 hours of tremendous knowledge sharing has happened in these 1.5 years, and I think we will go with more ideas and more take-home points and all the things. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Request our chairman Prabhu to honor the chairperson of this today's panel session. Mr. Prabhu, please come. To Mr. Dr. Veerapani sir, yeah. He is the chairman of Tamil Nadu. Mr. Prabhu, yeah.
Thank you.
I request the chairman of Tamil Nadu IACC to honor the speaker, Mr. Sanjay G. Thakkar. Sanjay, please come, sir. You can be here. Yeah, we can take a group photo along with that. Yeah. Yeah, request Mr. Prabhu to honor our Dr. Sai Seduraman, Head of R&D Pfizer Healthcare. So it's an honor to get a memento from him. So I'll collect from him. Yeah. As a speaker, yeah. Yep. Thank you for the chairperson and the speakers. Thanks for the audience. Time for the next panel. Yeah, Pragaladan, yeah, sorry. Hey, knowledge partner has been always forgotten. I request our chairman to give to Mr. Pragalad Chandrasekharan, who has taken us in depth about chemical industry.
Stand together. The group photo.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you all. So over to the next session. Thank you.
Apologies for this delay, and it's like late arrival of aircraft, the late ending of the earlier session, so we couldn't manage that. So sorry about it. And we will try and ensure that the next session people don't experience too much of a delay in beginning. So I think some presentations were planned, but we're going to skip that. But we're going to just discuss and question. So, Sarvana. Okay, I think my name is Ramchandran. I run a company called MEL Systems. We are into aerospace and automation. Sorry. Here we have the panel, Mr. Sundaram, a dear friend of mine, and he is, after graduation he started on his own, and he has built up primarily a rubber component business, and he's one of the major suppliers to aerospace. HAL as well as Boeing are his big customers, and I think he's also working with Airbus. So he'll be cool. I wish we had enough time to listen to people like him, but anyway, we will see how it can be done. Mr. Achyuta Rao, customer and sales manager in India Aerospace and Defense, Parker Lord. They manufacture aerospace components, and I know he'll describe that. Ms. Parag Sehgal will come on video. He is from Lockheed Martin. He's based at Delhi. Mr. Sriram, he's from Carlin Manufacturing India Private Limited, the US company. They make tools and parts for aerospace, and he will kind of talk about it. And Wing Commander Madhusudanan he's with TIDCO, and TIDCO are the people who promote our Tamil Nadu defense corridor, and what is Tamil Nadu in aerospace is all due to TIDCO, and I'm sure he will talk about it. So with these introductions, I thought that I'll just quickly run through a small presentation on the status of the aerospace and defense industries here, as well as what India is doing with US, just to give a perspective, then we can start our session. Okay, the Indo-US trade in this area is actually increasing at a rapid pace, though 60% of our buying is from Russia, but now I think we are increasing buying from the US. As you know, we are probably the number one importer of defense gear globally, and probably 70-80% of our capex is all imported, which the government wants to reverse that ratio soon. And now with US, we have one advantage: is they've cleared all the roadblocks in terms of technology transfer. As you all know, that even the GE engine program has been cleared. So I think we can look for a rapid growth in this segment with US in future. For example, the GE engine project is going to really throw up a lot of opportunities for MSMEs in India, and especially Tamil Nadu, because I think quite a lot of our people are already working. A few of our manufacturers in Chennai are working on the engine part with HAL. I'm sure they can kind of move on to this area as well. The global business for defense, I don't know whether it's positive or negative, but that's the ground reality. It's increasing thanks to Ukraine war, and we are talking about some $500 billion worth of defense business going on, and similar growth in civil as well. As you know, India has become a big buyer of civilian aircrafts as well. Now Tatas have already placed orders for 850, and now Indigo is planning to place an order for 500. So I think there's going to be a massive growth in this area. There are ongoing US-India projects. I mean, as I mentioned, that the US thing is increasing. You have C-130 transport aircraft, C-17 transport aircraft, P-8I maritime surveillance aircraft, Chinook Apache, MH-60 helicopters, BAE guns, Harpoon missiles, radars. So it's quite a large number of projects which are on, and as you know that now the GE engine project will come up. And India is also planning to buy armed drones from General Atomics anytime soon. They're going to get, it's been cleared by US MOD, so it should happen soon. So what does it mean to Indian industry? For both civilian and military aircraft, MRO can be a big thing, because as of now, India has a very weak MRO infrastructure. That's going to be a major growth business. If anybody is connected, that will be a big business for MRO. And in turn, Indian industry can be part of supply chains for offsets and domestic production. US companies like Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon are already active in tapping Indian supply chain. I think Boeing claims they're already buying $1 billion parts from India, and that definitely will grow. I mean, Lockheed Martin, he's going to talk about it. So Indian industry has a huge opportunities to be part of this supply chain. Again, opportunities for partnership, tech transfer, because government is very keen, and whenever we buy large equipment, India and government is insisting on domestic share of that, and so there will be a lot of things happening soon in India. In terms of our present scenario, it's, as you all know, that we are graduating from PSU only manufacturing to private sector. Even platforms are now allowed for private sector. Earlier, capex were met only by HAL, Bell, ordnance factories, and now you have a lot of private people like Tata's, Mahindra's, L&T, all of them are coming in. DRDO is an integral part of our efforts to make in India. DRDO is a huge opportunity, and as you know, we have very successful missile projects, and things have really opened up big opportunity for. In fact, in Hyderabad, probably many hundreds of small industries are working with DRDOs, both in Hyderabad and Bangalore. So there's a huge opportunity, and that's something we can tap. And today, DRDO technologies are available for private sector. You can go to DRDO, get the technology, and use that to get into defense manufacture. There's a lot of support for startups and for MSMEs from MOD. You have programs like Make programs, IDEX, TDF. There's a lot of. One thing is, I think many of you probably are active, but people who are not active, I think it pays to pay attention to many of these programs which the government is offering, and you can work towards that. Ongoing and future projects which will trigger big business opportunities in India. See, Indian platforms are much better in terms of, parts to be made by Indian manufacturers. LCA, now they're designing AMCA, which is going to be a very big project. Helicopters, a new submarine, project 75I is coming, so that's going to be 6 plus maybe another 6, so that's going to be a very big project. So there's be huge opportunity for parts to be made. Then India is going to tender 140 fifth generation aircrafts. Notwithstanding AMCA, India is also planning to buy 140 aircrafts from overseas, but to be part produced in India. That's going to be a big thing. And Tata Airbus, that's already on. I think the first aircraft is arriving ready built, I think this month, and Tata's will be starting to manufacture the balance. Then there are many projects are there. 2 more aircraft carriers are planned. Then another thing called Soldier as a system. This is going to have a lot of electronics in that project. Battle management system. Then futuristic, battle tanks. Then we may hopefully develop civilian aircraft. So the idea is that this is going to be a huge market, and that's going to this is going to be a big change from the past. There are a lot of opportunities. Major success stories of indigenous development. You have LCA, light utility helicopter, combat helicopter, the Netra, which is a Rikki aircraft, 155 guns at Bharat Forge. Their guns have been approved already. UAVs. UAV is a big subject. A lot of small industries have done exceedingly well in this area. Radars. Now we have a industry in Chennai who has done a great job in this area. Tata Patents. And warships. There are quite 100 plus ships are on manufacture. Missile. We have, BDL has huge orders on missiles which are all indigenously designed. Of course, ISRO is a great success story for developing indigenous capability, and a lot of subcontractors or suppliers are working with ISRO. As you all know, Kulasekara is going to have a launch pad, and this launch pad is exclusively for small satellites. So this launch pad will primarily be working with private sector, and TITCO is planning a big estate around this launch pad. So huge opportunities for industries. So government is very supportive. As you all know that all 10 defense tenders below 300 crores are reserved for Indian companies. Then 50 to 60% Indian content in most of the new tenders. So that's a huge opportunity. I talked about IDEX, startup support, Athal Innovation Centers. Coimbatore, it's working exceedingly well. So, and 25% of DRDO budget now is earmarked for private partnership. So anyone can work with DRDO and also get funded. This is a new opportunity. A lot of centers of excellence are being set up. I mean, Wing Commander will talk about it. Tamil Nadu government is working towards setting up many centers of excellence relating to defense and aerospace industry and test labs. This is just an example. Just one last slide to say that technologies are changing everywhere, and in defense, this change in technology is going to be quite profound. So probably we need to be quite, alive to this situation when you're planning to be in the industry. Material science and chemical technologies are going to play a huge role. If you talk about newer, missile systems or even batteries, so you're going to have completely different materials coming up. So a digital innovation, so that's going to make a big change. Decarbonization in civil aviation sector, that's a big subject. That can be a huge opportunity for India because we are very strong in biofuels in terms of both technology and availability. Power electronics and photonics. Power electronics, of course, is going to play a huge role in this technology change, and photonics and laser weapons. Now, I think we may dispense with really guns and use laser to kind of attack even the aircrafts. Autonomous technologies, so that's going to make, probably another 5 years later, soldier on the ground fighting with each other may not even exist. 5-10 years, so it'll all be drones or lasers or whatever it takes, or maybe hacking network. AI, machine learning, robotics are going to be a huge effect on how this industry is growing, so one has to be aware of digital warfare. I mentioned economic warfare, it's another thing. So what you see happening all over is economic warfare, what's happening between US and Russia. Okay, I think I'll skip this last slide because this is on defense corridor. I would like Wing Commander to talk about it. So just a brief, this was an introduction, and what we'll do now is that we'll work with the team here to kind of expand on the opportunities, and they'll kind of what I would request is that if each one of you make your comments for 5 to 8 minutes, and then we will have some questions and open it for discussions. Thank you very much. So now I think I will ask Mr. Sehgal, Lockheed Martin, to speak for the reason that he has to go out somewhere soon. Can you organize that?
Yes, sir. Sehgal is online. He's online. He's already online.
He's online?
We think we can Facebook flash.
Is he online?
He was. His face did flash.
Oh yeah. Wow. I think we should know.
Let me just be careful. Probably that.
I can hear you very faintly.
Oh.
Okay.
So good afternoon. My apologies for this delay, but the idea is that if you can share your thoughts for 5 to 8 minutes, then others will do so, and then we'll have a Q&A session, right? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. I presume that Mr. Ramachandran. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah.
And to Mr. Sundaram and to Mr. Rao. Sorry for being able to make it in person. I had a lot of conflicts today. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes. Beautifully.
Yes, we are able to hear you. Yeah. Yeah, quite clear. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I did hear your comments about the defense trade between India and the US. Yes, I completely endorse that. For the past almost now 15 years, I would say the trade has increased, and to the benefit of both the sides, I think it's important for like-minded nations with shared values to enter into partnerships like this. And we are having this engagement during a week when, in the beginning of the week, the defense secretary from the US has met with Raksha Mantri. So I think it's a good, it's a week to celebrate, and it's really well timed. In terms of programs, yes, Lockheed has two major programs underway in India. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Lockheed Martin has two major programs underway in India. As you well know, there is the C-130J for the Indian Air Force and the MH-60R helicopters for the Indian Navy. But apart from programs, Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky are really invested in India for the past 13 years. We have two self-sustaining joint ventures in Hyderabad, which were set up about 13 years ago. Both the joint ventures have resulted in the development of more than 300 MSMEs, thousands of engineers and technicians being employed by these joint ventures. And the MSMEs that were developed by our joint ventures are now doing work for other companies, global companies, as well as domestic Indian companies. And the engineers and technicians that we trained in the past 13 years, not all of them have continued with the joint ventures. They've gone ahead, moved on, got absorbed into the ecosystem, and are presently working for many other companies. And that, I think, is a real success story, not just for Lockheed Martin, but for India as well. I think in terms of coming back to the point on trade, not speaking for the US government, I think the US government's foreign military sales is an excellent mechanism for partner nations to get capabilities. It also makes very good economical sense because many of these programs come with shared costs. It's not that the US government only provides the initial capability, but even the life cycle support, the upgrades throughout the life cycle of that program, training throughout the life cycle of the program, everything. The costs are shared not just by the partner nation, but by all partner nations in that particular program, and by the US military also. So it really gives a good benefit for the dollar, not just for the partner nation like India, but for all the members of that particular program. I think I'll hand over for the moment, but happy to take on any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for a nice summary. May I now invite Mr. Achyuta Rao to make his comments, please?
Yeah.
Hello, good evening. Greetings from Pakalad. So thank you IACC, thank you Mr. Ramachandran for having me here to just share a few thoughts about aviation sector in defense. I come from this Lord Corporation, which is taken over by Parker Hannifin Corporation in the year 2019, and we are involved with major rotary wing programs, such as you name it, any rotary wing program in India, that is advanced light helicopter, light utility helicopter, light combat helicopter, even the legacy program of Cheetah. So we are involved with all these programs, proud to be associated with all these programs. So what actually Lord do? Basically, suppose wherever actually you see this vibration, it is not desirable. So whether be it a machine, be it a vehicle, or be it the aircraft, the vibrations are definitely it is not desirable. So when actually you sit in the aircraft, you are very comfortable. But actually when you sit in the helicopter, such a big rotor is rotating, a lot of vibrations are induced into the cabin. Both the pilots as well as the passengers, and even for the lot of avionics, it is not very desirable situation. So Lord Corporation, we address the vibration issues within the aircraft, and successfully we have addressed on all these programs. So as far as Indian aerospace and defense, aviation in defense is concerned, there is a major expansion it is happening. For example, India has already made about 600 Cheetah helicopters, and we have already made about 350 advanced light helicopters, and we are making another 200 light combat helicopters, and India is going to make another 400 light utility helicopters. So you can imagine the potential of the rotary wing sector in India. So probably you might have seen in the recent news articles that Prime Minister Modi has inaugurated a huge manufacturing complex near Bangalore that is totally dedicated for light utility helicopters. And this is 3-ton class helicopters. And apart from that, there is another major development that is happening that is called Indian multi-role helicopter. That is a 10-ton class. And the all-up weight is going to be about 15 ton. So that is going to be another major helicopter segment growth in India. It is happening. And apart from this, what I would like to say is, as far as the rotary wing is concerned, India has got built technology right from the design, prototype development, and production, and MRO. So all these manufacturing link right from the design to prototype, from the production till MRO, we have all the capabilities, and it throws a very good opportunity for all this MSME as well as other manufacturing sectors in India for related to this aerospace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then probably that you may have questions and talk about it. May now request Mr. Sriram to address you.
So myself Sriram, I represent the company Carlade Manufacturing. Basically we are an American company. We are 70 years old in the States, and we have 2 facilities in the States. Our headquarters is in St. Louis, and we were big suppliers for Boeing, Lockheed and Sikorsky in the States. So what we do is we make clamping and alignment components which helps to build airplanes. So technically our parts doesn't fly. So we are like a tier 2. So basically we support tool builders who in turn supply those tools to the OEMs and they build the aircraft. Our content in the tooling is about not more than 5-6%. So even having said this, in 2016, our president visited Tata Boeing facility in Hyderabad, where the Apache line is already running. So he said, why now, having seen this here and seeing it in the States, now we need to have a plant in India. So basically, we are an MSME type of company. We are between small and medium. So then, we didn't take us much time to say, we have to start operations in India. So finally, everything was together, and 2019, just before pandemic, we started the operations. Immediately pandemic came in, the panic was setting in the chain. We said, we are not going back, because India, we used that opportunity to say, why can't we serve as a best cost country for the States back again? So we produced components here. We produce alignment, clamping and positioning components to the aerospace standards, and we exported back to our parent company. And also we started supporting the Indian supply chain, which is primarily for Tata Boeing, Tata Sikorsky and Tata Lockheed in Hyderabad and Nagpur. As this goes on, a lot of activities started, Lockheed is doing a lot of programs now, and Boeing is doing a lot of programs now. And now suddenly we got this C295 programs coming in. So as we really see into the market, there are a lot of tool builders who is getting developed. We work with them very closely, on building up tools, finding custom solutions. To have a Indo-American venture positioned in Chennai, it's basically a win-win situation for the tool builders, because we have our facility in Chennai and support the supply chain. And we are on a progressive path. Suddenly we see a ratio. Last year we were 95-5 for the Indian market, and suddenly this year some programs get started. Suddenly we are talking of in the next 3 months 60-40, 40% for the domestic market and 60% export. Now it is rapidly changing, but still we are on the tip of the ice. We have not gone deep inside. And really, what we could see at the MSME level is, the supply chain is really getting ready for the single aisle aircrafts, commercial aircrafts manufacturing in India, which will be the future. Maybe a Boeing 737 or a MAX or whatever aircraft it is going to be. So we can really see that. And many of the tool builders who are doing industrial lines and automotive lines are also slowly diversifying into aerospace tool building. We could also see these things in Chennai, Bangalore and Pune, where all these tool vendors are based out of. Even Rajkot is developing a lot, on these areas. So we could really see this chain improving, we see a lot of opportunity here. And also strategically, we are looking at Asia as a whole. Today, a lot of programs in South Korea where they have this, and which is basically supported from the Indian supply chain. So today, a lot of tool builders, if you ask them, I'm on this supply chain, I'm on that supply chain. So it's also on the Asian side, which will start rolling out from India. That is the things we see. And as an MSME, as a small, we are between small and medium, and we see a lot of people entering in this small and medium. Materials are available, and today, we have the standard quality all over the globe. So those talks are gone. Now we are talking of more of a futuristic stuff, how these things will progress. And even though as a non-flying company, we see a lot of business revolving around these things. Yeah. And with the earlier establishments of supply chain from Lockheed and Boeing and Sikorsky, so we are one among them who have encashed this opportunity, and there are many more to go. We are only doing vertical stabilizers, landing gear doors, and some of the little wing components. So we can just imagine when the entire aircrafts are built here, what's the opportunity we are going to see. So yeah, that's the opportunity, a lot ahead and a lot more to learn in the supply chain. And the cash-to-cash cycle is working very well at the MSME level. There are a lot of support from the government, on monitoring these things, both on investment side and also the cash-to-cash cycle side. Yeah. So these are the opportunities we see. And thank you so much for this opportunity and to speak at the IACC show. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my dear friends. Thanks IACC and thanks my dear elder brother Ramachandran for introducing me. It's a good thing, and thanks my dear colleagues. I'm actually first generation entrepreneur. I'm a graduate from rubber technology from MIT Chennai in the past out in the year of 1984. And I created my own venture in 1988 in the small level of micro level industry of making the rubber parts. So my first journey itself, it is an import substitution development like that. Those days there is no Make in India scheme. It's an import substitute cell like that. And the initial period of 2.5, 3 years, we were all developing so many imported parts in India. We are making the components for BHEL, NTPC, ONGC and all. From 91 onwards, I entered into defense aerospace. And presently we are having the wide varieties of parts and 6-7 verticals we are into. Apart from rubber, we are having the mechanical components, the precision machining, and then making LRUs. And recently, we entered in the ventures called making antennas for the aircraft. Aircraft in the sense fighter aircraft and the civil aircraft. We recently secured a big order for 30 aircrafts. We are modification for EW systems and all. And support from the government those days and all that development of imported part, it's really tough and getting the certification and getting the airworthiness clearances and all these are all very big roadblock. Nowadays, thanks to Atal Bihari Vajpayee sir, he created the golden quadruplicate road facility for all over India. So all the roadblocks removed. So now we can do the very big business, very good business within India, within our Indian requirement. My friend Mr. Achyuta Rao, he told about their capability. They are all fantastic group and they are having a lot of offset business and all. So, so many offset requirements are there, sir. It's a resource for our Indian MSME. Our chairman Ramachandran sir told about the 300 crores, within 300 crores. It's a resource for our Indian MSME, SMEs. So we can tap the opportunities and all. The small industry, like the startup industry and all, they need not invest the many capabilities and all. They can tie up with the bigger industry and the next level industry. They can tie a MOU and we can JV with them and we can develop the part with the help of the bigger industry. Then they can create the setups slowly. So once the startup industry, they need not create the right from beginning and all. When they are getting good business, then they can create the facility and they can do the business with that with the defense and civil aviation. And our company started working with Boeing and Airbus 10 years back. So 2021 we are a tier 1 for Boeing, and presently we are having around 400 components we are supplying to Boeing directly, both the civil and their military operations and all. So it is a possibility, sir. I think thanks to Corona, I think it is really that COVID is a very bad situation, but it's given a big lesson for our global buyers. Sorry, sir. Lockheed Martin. So now the American companies they're all interested to come to India. It is an opportunity for our Indian entrepreneurs, and we can tap the opportunity. We are all good people, God-fearing people, and the highly ethical country, and we can tap this. And when we are giving the good product with the good technical, results, no customer will go away from us, sir. That's my experience. I started with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in the aerospace, this thing. Presently, I am getting around 50%, more than 50% this revenue I am getting from my principal, Hindustan Aeronautics, and the rest of the 50% business I am getting from this thing. And I am having around 20% plus from the export revenues. Certainly, the Boeing, they promised us give around 700 to 800 components for another 3-4 years. Certainly, the value is good. Now, the Boeing is giving training also to our Indian companies. They are frequently visiting our factory, and they are sitting at our factory every week. The 3-4 engineers from Boeing, they are visiting our factory. They are giving training to our working level people. Earlier, they are all not considering the Indian companies. Nowadays, they are coming towards our companies. It's a great opportunity for this thing. We need to focus on the quality, focus on their training. Certainly, we can win their confidence level and making the good product for world civil, this thing. So most of the orders, what we secured for the past 2-3 years, it's up for another 4-5 years. They are giving the quantities and all are offset requirements. Simply they are changing this thing. வேற பானையில் எடுத்து போடுறாங்க அவ்வளவுதான். So the offset order, they are not giving in the name of offset order. So the order value is there. It may be around 1 billion, 1.5 billion order. $1.5 billion they are giving it to another firm, but account is offset account. So it is our business. Our security for our Indian companies. My dear friends, I think straight away you approach for aerospace and defense. There is fantastic opportunity, fantastic business, safe business is available. Even I created, first job was developed in the year of 1996 for cockpit seal. Still now I am supplying the parts. So even after 25 years, I am supplying the parts to the Indian Air Force and these things. And when we are developing some systems for our Indian military aircrafts, automatically we can export this similar type of components to other countries. So in the world, all the aircrafts are all common. So plenty of opportunities available. My friend is there, Wing Commander Madhusudan. Tamil Nadu government, they are supporting like anything. So for the startup industry, they are giving fund, they are giving technology, they are giving all these things. Even that 10 years back, we are unable to get the CATIA software license. It's cost us around 25-30 lakhs for one software. Even my company is having around 7-8 softwares, paying this much of money. Nowadays, they are offering it free of cost. Tamil Nadu government, TITCO, they made a MOU with this thing, Dassault system, Samsung and other SolidWorks. They are all giving the free of cost. They created a center of excellence. We can sign an MOU and we can get the software, we can make use of their software. They created Coimbatore, Chennai and Hosur, they are creating the system. So like that, the state government is supporting like anything, and they are creating the testing facilities also. This is an opportunity, my dear friends. Please enter into aerospace and defense. And the American giants, they are all giving good volumes. So it's not a small volume. Once we are getting experience from our Indian business, automatically we can go for a global level. That's what Dr. Kalam always usually telling like this. Learn from India, earn from abroad. Learn from India. So our Indian systems, they are giving a very good platform for learning. So with the technology, we can export the components to other components and subsystems to the other country, and we can get the revenue on foreign exchange and all this. So fantastic opportunities available, and parallelly we should stop our imports also. So automatically we are all self-reliance. So that's what our this thing. So Indo-American chamber, this type of meeting should happen frequently, and even okay, he's having some questions also after this system. I can share my experience as a MSME, started from zero. Presently we are having 25,000 part numbers fully certified for aerospace and defense. It's for both civil and military aircraft. I can share my experience also. Thanks for this opportunity. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sehgal, how is your time? You wanted to leave at 4, is it? Hello?
I can hang on for another maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. Great. Okay, I think maybe a couple of questions to you and then maybe we'll go on to the next speaker. Then you can choose your time.
Sure, thank you.
So,
thank you for adjusting and sorry about that.
You're welcome. Now, you have already a lot of experience in establishing facilities in Hyderabad and also have many other vendors here. How has that experience been? Would you kind of tell people here in terms of what your expectations are and how, based on your earlier experience, what tips you will give them in terms of how they should get into being a vendor for your organization?
No, I think the experience of Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky has been very good. Again, referencing the two joint ventures we have in Hyderabad, and just to take everyone back into time, when we broke ground in Adibatla, which is on the outskirts of Hyderabad, it was barren land. There was no civilization actually around for a radius of at least maybe 10 kilometers or something, and we have pictures up there in our halls which take us back into time. We set up these factories. The Sikorsky joint venture came up first, closely followed by the Lockheed Martin Aeronautics joint venture about 6 months or 1 year later. And from the time we broke ground till the time we had the first FAI, first article inspection, I believe was in about 1.5 years, which is amazing. After the FAI, of course, started off the limited series production and then the wholesale, whole-scale series production. But when you look at Adibatla today, it's a township full of activity. There are residential areas. There's a massive TCS business park there. There are many other joint ventures there, including the ones named by some of my co-speakers, Tata Boeing. Tata Advanced Systems themselves have set up a factory there. It's a township which nobody can imagine that say 15 years ago it was just barren land. Now, how did this happen? There's no doubt that India has high quality engineering manpower, and of course they speak in English. The average age of the employees in these joint ventures is amazingly low. It's probably 26 or 27 or something. So it's really the advantage that India provided to Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky way back 13 years ago, plus of course the culture, the processes of Lockheed Martin, and which really matched with the culture and processes of our JV partner, that is Tata Advanced Systems. So it's a real success story again, not just for us, for our joint venture partner, for India, for the India-US partnership. I would say it's a very good example to talk about, and very proud of it. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Ramchandran.
Yeah, right. And generally, your expectations from somebody, suppose somebody wants to approach Lockheed Martin to be a supplier, what would you advise, and what kind of programs you have?
Right. So there are two things. One is the massive investments, like in the form of these joint ventures, and you will appreciate that these investments are based on business cases, which are evaluated, with a magnifying glass. Fortunately, these business cases worked out very well, and now both the joint ventures are sort of self-sustaining even after 13 years. As far as getting part of the supply chain is concerned, Lockheed Martin conducts an annual supplier conference. In India, we've been doing it for now, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or maybe more, actually more. Usually it's in Bangalore, but the location might change. So my recommendation to the industry here is that please keep a lookout, keep your ears on the ground, and as you get to know about the suppliers conference, there would be an email address given in that notification. Please reach out to us, express interest, and we have hundreds of Indian companies and mostly MSMEs participating in the suppliers conference. Now it's not necessary that all the engagements at a supplier conference would result in definitive orders, but then that's what our supply chain team will follow up with. They look at what they need to outsource to an Indian company, and then if they can find an Indian company that fits the capability, the processes, the culture, the requirements, then the marriage takes place and we move ahead with an RFI or an RFP or whatever it has to be.
Thank you very much. And it's quite clear, and I'm sure people would have benefited. I just want to make one comment. 4 years back, I was in your factory in Atlanta, and then they said that the parts they get from Hyderabad are 100% defect-free. It's all just assembled, and they never had the experience even when they were making it in the US. So that was, a big compliment to the Indian workforce. Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, the first parts which went after the initial FAI, the first article inspection, they themselves were a perfect fit, no question of any rework. And from then on, the standards have just gone higher. So it's a perfect project of example of collaboration, cooperation, a mix of cultures, perfect alignment of cultures and processes.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And now it's your call in terms of whether you want to stay or plan your timing. And I'll ask Vinkamada Madhusudan to address us now. Thanks a lot, Mr. Segal.
Right, I'll sign off with your permission.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, Mr. Ramachandran has given me the privilege of putting people to sleep. Thanks a lot, sir. I can do this job very well. I'm an expert in that.
The next session, guys, will come.
So, in case you're woken up, don't blame me, blame the next session. So, I'm not to blame. Right, thanks a lot for this opportunity. Mr. Ramachandran was telling I stand here as a representative of Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation or the representative of the government. Whereas, actually, I can claim that I stand here wearing multiple hats. One that who has been a soldier some years back, one who has been part of the aerospace and defense industry in the private sector for a while, and now part of the government enabling system. So I think I've seen all the spectrums as a user, as a supplier. In fact, I was the largest supplier to Boeing from India for about 4.5 years. So let me not go much deeper into that. So with this, probably I'll be able to give I would be switching these caps in between, pardon me for that. First thing is, generally we refer to aerospace and defense as a vertical. In fact, that needs to be broken off. It's not a vertical, it's a horizontal. Reason is, name it, it's there. When you call aerospace and defense, let me take a simple aeroplane, a normal Indigo which we fly. What is not there in that? It has fabric, textiles. It has mechanical components. It has electronic components. It has communication. It has even food. Right? So, why should we term it as a vertical and try to isolate it? What I mean is there is space for everyone. You could be manufacturing or providing service in any sector, any domain. There is a small place for you. Right? Even a person who makes canned food, wonderful. There are nuts served to nuts in Indigo. Pardon me for that. I used these words to keep people awake. So, even those nuts can be called as aerospace and defense industry. Fortunately, they are all supplied from Kanyakumari district, from this very state. The nuts comes from Kanyakumari district. So, there is space for everyone. Let me look at the flip side as well. Barring the nuts, nothing comes from India. The aeroplanes are made somewhere else. The nuts who are sitting inside are from India. The nuts which are consumed are from India. Everything Even the plates are not manufactured here. The seat belts, not from here. The fuel on which it runs, not from here. The air hostesses and the cabin crew are from here. And a flip side to that, the pilots, the training is imported. They're not from here. So when we call it as an Indian, I'm just looking at one segment of the commercial aviation alone. When we call it Indian, what is Indian in that? Literally nothing, barring the nuts. So there is sufficient scope. And behind the scene, while I say that nothing is Indian, there are a lot of Indian stuff. Like we have Mr. Sundaram here, who's into that ecosystem. I've been into that ecosystem as, let me make it know, my team made 40% of the software which goes onto the most digital airplane, Boeing 787. So there is a lot of Indian content there. But we don't call it Indian content. That's the beauty. So what is that which needs to plug that gap? I don't think I need to give solutions for this. The solution is within you. And one more thing is, for aerospace and defense, let me take defense. This is one sector which doesn't have any recession. All that is needed is two human beings. Good enough. There will be conflict. We'll pick up something to fight each other. Right? Instead of two, in case we have 2 billion, wonderful. More the opportunities. We have plenty of weapons to throw at each other. So, is this industry going to lag behind? Never. There's huge business. It's only something to pick up. If you take a Boeing airplane, there are 20,000 suppliers. How much effort will it take for some of you to be part of it? We have few people who are part of that. And this is 20,000 suppliers as Tier 1. What about Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4? So this is an industry, and even probably the pandemic was one thing which really shook it up. But it's not going anywhere. It's coming back. The business comes back. So the pent-up demand is more than compensated because we have been sitting idle inside our homes without fighting with each other. So we will pick up our weapons. So again, there's a lot of scope. So that how the opportunities, as Mr. Piyush Sehgal was telling, there are opportunities for which you need to keep your eyes and ears open. And we, from the government, from the state government, Tamil Nadu, we have been in the past taking a not so big role. Whereas now we have changed gears. It's high time we change gears. We have changed gears in the last few years. Despite the fact that the aerospace and defense industry suppliers do exist in large numbers in Tamil Nadu. For example, right here we have Mr. Sundaram. We have many more people sitting here. They have been suppliers for ages. Mr. Sundaram has been a supplier from 1989. Am I right, sir? From 1989. So, but we have been thinking that the aerospace and defense industry is based out of Bangalore and Hyderabad. There have been suppliers from Salem as well. There have been suppliers from Coimbatore. There have been suppliers here. Only thing is, we have not been able to put them together and visualize it. So that's the time when probably the government of Tamil Nadu thought, yes, this is a sector which we need to look at. Because if you look at again aviation, then let me again switch. What is aviation? Aviation is nothing but another glorified form of transportation. What is the difference between a train and an airplane? They carry people from point A to point B safely. That's it. Nothing very different. And from my own experience, I built software, cyber security solutions for Boeing. I use the same thing for making money from a Chinese car company, also from a European rail company. So money has no caste, creed, religion. So it doesn't matter. It's just a transportation sector. And how many of you in this transportation sector? Quite a few. All that is needed is a bit more quality. Like Mr. Sundaram said, a bit more quality. And yeah, Mr. Achyut Rao is there. He would definitely vouch for it. What sort of quality is needed for aerospace? And once you achieve that quality standards, the rest of the transportation industry is yours. It doesn't take much effort. And that's where we from the government are trying to pitch in. How do we help you to enhance your vision? How do we help you to improve your quality? What are the tools you need? What are the gaps which are existing in the ecosystem which, if plugged, could enable the industry to become part of the global aerospace and defense. So we are not doing anything more than that. We are just trying to plug the gaps. And we are just acting as facilitators. And for example, Mr. Sundaram did mention, and Mr. Ramchandran also did mention about few centers of excellence. These are nothing but we try to address what is a requirement which the industry is facing, which in case we step in and try to plug it, would that help it? And yes, we have been successful in doing that. And right now we are embarking on establishing of multiple test centers. Probably I will cover upon in case there are questions about that. So we would be moving on from one step to another. We would try to look at how we can help companies to address their finance needs, the quality needs, the market access. In fact, Mr. Parag Sehgal was telling that about the Lockheed Suppliers Conference. Last year, we did reach out to a lot of industries. We did liaise between the Tamil Nadu industries and Lockheed Martin so that we could have more representation from Tamil Nadu. But finally, the business is between the two principals. We don't get into the business. It won't be right for us. So we are trying to do what is needed to enable the industry. And what is needed is what we perceive and what your actual needs might be different. So my request in this forum is that in case you feel that this is a place where government needs to step in, please let us know. We will try to take it up and we'll try to step in there. With this, Mr. Ramchandran, I think I would answer questions, if any, rather than continuing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody here from IACC thing? How many more minutes we have? Nobody's here.
It's all yours.
Okay, Mr. Rao, I just wanted to, for the people, see, you are developing a supply chain in terms of, for your own needs. How do you kind of go about and, how anyone new want to approach you, what kind of thing they have to explain?
First and the foremost thing is actually suppose, let us assume that the value addition for any component, definitely it has to be more because we have got highly skilled, highly knowledgeable people and the equipments are same, but actually the labor, even highly skilled and highly knowledgeable labor content is more here. So the value addition for the component, whether it is electronic component or the mechanical component, the value addition should be definitely, it should be higher. Then only we can be very competitive in the market. I will take a simple example like for any castings or forging supplies to any of the European or American companies and to be competitive in the market. Unless and until there is a good value addition. As a thumb rule about there has to be about 70% of the value addition, then only we can be competitive in the global market. So later, because all the material, the aerospace industry uses this highly exotic materials like titanium, nickel-based special aluminum, special steel, and for all the engine components, it's all nickel-based components. So definitely the value addition and the material, there are only very few global suppliers for the metal. So once actually you import the metal, almost all the material cost actually going to be remains the same. So what we need to really focus on the value addition and as a supply, as a subsystem, then only we can be competitive in the market. Will that answer Mr. Ramachandran?
Somebody wants to approach you, what kind of procedures?
Yeah, definitely there are some certifications are required like AS 9100, most of the people actually And apart from that, NADCAP certification. And once actually you approach a company, definitely their quality team will come. I think Mr. Sundar will be more knowledgeable than me. And their team, their quality team, actually they visit your facility, they will assess. And all the quality systems, there will be regular interactions from the UST, from the global team to your quality team. And once actually it is the facility as well as the quality process, it is qualified, then definitely you can become the supplier for aerospace industry globally and you can compete. And for example, as Mr. Sehgal was mentioning, the transportation, everything is same. The process, material, everything is same. but the number of tests the particular component undergoes, like all the qualifying tests, acceptance tests. So there are several tests actually it goes, because nobody wants to take any chance when actually something is flying, no? Because always imagine our family is there, family member is flying. So nobody will take any chance when actually a component goes into the aircraft. So definitely we have to be very quality oriented, and it should meet all the aerospace quality requirement. And for that, the quality team will come and assess, process, and it has to be consistent. So, and traceability is another most important factor in where actually you source the material, how do you process, and we're all involved, and everything it has to be recorded and documented. So this is one of the most important criteria to become a supplier to the aerospace.
Thank you. I think we are kind of running out of time. So we'll open this for questions. So please feel free to ask questions to the panel members. Identify yourself and...
Can I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I just want to understand what are the current challenges on the skill side? What areas, and just want to understand from anyone of the panelists. Generally, what kind of skills where you have shortage, or what kind of skills that are needed? They were asking.
You're talking about manufacturing skills, sir?
No, in the aerospace. In the aerospace industry itself, right? Where do you see the more challenges in the skills? Is it the technology side, or that's what I'm trying to understand?
So most of the technology, when we are getting the technology from the foreign companies, we can, based on the technology, we are able to produce the part in India, and parallelly we can invent the technology only, sir. We need to invent the technology, and it is possible, sir. It is possible.
Can you be a little more specific?
Okay, see, basically, I'm coming from a skill development company, right? So on the engineering, so is it a CAD/CAM or any specific? So that's why, right? First I just want to understand, the major challenges. That's why I put an open, question.
Sir,
if it is an
yeah, please.
Yeah. So just want to understand, if it is, whether it is an engineering, or design kind of a skill. Do we have a shortage of those skills? Those kind of things that I want to understand.
I think Madhusudan probably gave you an idea. I think this is it's not a vertical, it's horizontal.
I understand.
So the technology here is so varied. So you need to really look at which technology where you have to kind of train people.
Yeah, if I can, okay, I have not answered this question as part of the government, but probably based on my experience for about 5 years in the private sector, employing something like 800 people in the aerospace and defense sector. Let me answer that question in that hat of mine which I wore. In my opinion, there is no lack of skills in the available market. There is sufficient skills are available. But there is a problem of distribution of skills. They are geographically distributed, which is somewhat not so good. Probably this gentleman would agree with me. In case, let's say I want to design a wiring harness for an airplane. I'm just using an arbitrary example. How many people do I have who know Mentor graphics? If I need to establish my facility in Coimbatore, what is the willingness of people to travel there? Because it is not like a typical Java or a lathe skills, if something like that. So since these are since it's a horizontal, you need different skills. To take this example, if my plant is supposed to be in Coimbatore, how many people are available with Mentor graphics capability? Are they willing to shift to Coimbatore? Are they available in Coimbatore? Or should I shift my facility to a place where these skills are available? So, in my opinion, if in a nutshell, I would say skills are available because these are not special skills. But the tolerance to error is minimal. As Mr. Rao said, there is no scope for error. So you need people who have skill and there is no scope of error. So skilling wise, I would say that there is nothing special which would be needed. The existing skills are good enough, which probably I would pass on the question, the answering mode to the other gentlemen, since they have also been handling from the industry side. I don't know whether you would agree with me or not agree with me.
Yeah, definitely I agree. Like the required skills are available. Even in our case, it's basically a technology transfer from US to India. Like we had all the skill sets available already here. Like it is as sir rightly said, like they are distributed. So we have to, basically we are positioned in Chennai. So strategically, like they say a lot of tool builders are in Bangalore and Pune, but still we selected Chennai because already the skill sets are available here. And then we pick and choose right people, like who have the little bit of, always there is a fine tuning, like the person knows everything, but the little bit of fine tuning to the technology, where we are in, that is within the company, that can be tuned. But as we see, like we do not see any resource shortage in the market. Even we work with a lot of tooling suppliers, so we do not see any resource shortage. There are a lot of skilled people in the market, like who have been trained by the OEMs like Tata Lockheed, Tata Boeing, and Tata Sikorsky, and Tata Advanced Systems. So they're all in the market, like we don't see any major issue there.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to add. Let us not think that actually you need to be an aerospace engineer or aircraft engineer to be part of aerospace and defense industry. I'm a mechanical engineer, and there are a lot of electronic engineer, and even HAL employs even the civil engineers also, because they are very strong in structure design and things like that. So only once actually you get into this defense industry, so the special skills the companies will train. I'm from the automotive industry background and then switched over to this aerospace industry. So definitely you don't have to be an aerospace engineer to be getting to the aerospace industry. Normal engineering will do. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I think we are kind of running out of time. I think, maybe your challenge is, I think he's running a training institute. He wants to know what training, so that's a problem. Okay. So thank you very much. And, thanks for your patience. And my apologies to the panelists. We didn't give you enough time. But then, there's going to be another session here in the same place. So we'll close the session now. Thank you very much. And thanks to the panelists. Yeah, you can interact with them or a cup of coffee outside. Yeah, thank you. Unless you people also want to listen to the next food processing sessions.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you with us.
Good evening. So the next session. Thank you. Thanks, Indu. Sorry, I think I don't see the official photographer, but Indu can help us. So the following session will be on the auto component session. The agro and food processing session is happening at Rajendra 1. So whoever would like to be part of the discussion, please move to Rajendra. In this hall, we will have auto components related sector panel discussion. Thank you.